Welcome to the Wholesale Elite Podcast. I am Isham and I'm joined by my main man, Mr. Tanner Santucci. What up, dude?
What's up, my guy?
Man, we got a lady on the show.
Yay!
Yeah, guys, today we are honored to be joined by Miss Tabitha Jones. Tabitha, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, guys. This is awesome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you for sure. Guys, so Tabitha is a fellow Astro fam. For those of you who aren't in the community, we're definitely going to talk about it in this episode. But every now and again we get some people from the fam and interview them. And outside of that, it's just people that are killing it in the wholesale world. And so Tabitha is definitely killing it. But not only is she killing it, Tabitha has a full-time job. She is a mom, a super busy mom. She's just telling us before we hit the record button that we may hear her little ones running around upstairs. So, but Tabitha, with doing all that, she's doing all that and building an amazing business and has had some incredible success right now. And so I can't wait to dive in and learn more about your story and how you're able to juggle all this stuff you got going. So how's your day going?
It's good. Wednesdays are always my busy day. So Thursdays is like a relaxed one because my daughter has cheerleading and stuff on Wednesdays and then preschool and all this good stuff. So Thursdays is like chill. So I like
awesome. Glad we caught you at a good day then. Well, let's jump right in. And, we love to start by going into the origin story and, not just, what was life like before real estate, but, I feel very strongly that people's upbringing, creates the person who they are today. And so, I like for people to hear people's past because it plays a major role, in people's current successes, whether it was a troubled past or not. And so just for relatability's sake, like give us your origin story. What was family life like? Where are you from? All that beginning stuff. Go ahead.
Beginning. Sure. Okay. So born and raised in Northeast Pennsylvania. Haven't lived anywhere else my entire life and grew up normal. I have an older brother, mom and dad. I wouldn't say we were poor, but we, lower middle class growing up. And I had always watched like my parents with their work ethics and how they were. And my dad was always, showed up for work. And he used to always tell us this line: you need to go to school because if you don't go to school and get a good job, then you're going to be a janitor and you're going to clean toilets for the rest of your life. So literally drilled into my head from a small child. Like that's what he used to tell us. And my mom had like odd jobs growing up, but then eventually she found her way into the corporate world. So that's what she did. She went corporate, and then my dad was, he worked at a cement company plant. So very just like, middle class family, nothing really special. Went to school, did normal stuff. And then the life-changing moment for me, what I always say is changed me, shaped me to who I am today is just graduated high school, and it was 2 weeks before I was about to start college. Didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. And my dad passes away completely unexpectedly. He was only 41 years old, very young. And he actually died of a massive heart attack. So that kind of course, my whole life has changed. I went from two parents to one parent to, at this crazy stage of your life where you don't really know what you're supposed to do. Like you went to school for all those years. That's what you did. You woke up, you went to school, you hung out with your friends. Now you're at this like turning point in your life where you have to make decisions about your life and what you want to do in the future. But my life just turned into complete shambles. So it was actually funny though, because in that note, although I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself at that time, instead of taking that path of like going down into like drugs or alcohol or those things, I actually threw myself more into school. And I took my mind off of things by being in school and doing well and, making sure that I was getting good grades and those types of things. And that I didn't know it at the time, but I think that's what like saved me from not like going down the bad path. Now, don't get me wrong. I had my troubled teens, and I was not no angel. If you ask my mom, she would tell you Tabitha is no angel by any means. But yeah, so then it was, well, okay, now I have to make a decision on what I'm going to do with my life. And I chose nursing. I was like, if I could help one person, excuse me, one single family member, if I could save one single life, like that's all I wanted to do.
Right.
So then I went to school and became a nurse. Took me a while. It's only supposed to take you, well, if you get your bachelor's 4 years, it took me like 7, but eventually graduated. Eventually graduated and became a nurse. And that's what I did. That's how I started my life as an adult. I was 24 when I graduated. So that's where it started.
Wow. Okay. So do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older brother.
Older brother. Okay. How much older?
3 years.
Okay. So fairly close in age. What, just out of curiosity, what's his profession? What does he do?
So it's funny. He actually went to school for like a sports management type thing. One of those like oddball majors, and couldn't really do much with it. And he is actually himself now an entrepreneur. He started out with a small food truck, and now he's expanding, has his own business inside a restaurant, and he's growing his business now.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, okay. So you go through your RN, program. It takes you a little bit longer than normal. And so now you're a licensed RN and you're doing your thing. Where did real estate come into the story?
Yeah, so it's funny because my mom had always kind of had like this love for real estate. And I remember like growing up, we would always watch HGTV and the house flipping shows. And it was always kind of like something I was interested in. And I mean, literally that's what was on my TV. Like it could just be playing in the background, but HGTV was on and I would watch. Right. And so that's what sparked the interest. And then eventually my mom actually became a real estate agent. And it didn't really click to me because I was all focused. I was a nurse. I didn't really realize how much I loved it until it got to the point of where nursing was starting to wear me down. And, but I always think of this because it's funny. When I got pregnant with my daughter, I was living in an apartment and we were searching for houses. And I didn't know what like house hacking was, or I didn't know any of that terminology, but like in the back of my brain, I was like, I want to find a house that I can like live in, run out the other side or something like that. Right. But I didn't end up going down that road because I was pregnant. So then it was like, well, no, let me have my own like private home. But it's funny when I think back on it, I was like, it was already instilled in my brain, like in the background, that I didn't even realize it. I was like thinking, oh, I should go buy a house to house hack. And I didn't even know what that was. Right.
That's funny along this journey, all these things that we think were original ideas, and come to find out there's a word for it,
Yeah.
I thought I invented the whole buyer first approach. When I first heard about wholesaling, and I heard the process, and I learned that, you lock this house up and then you go find a buyer. And my question was, what if you don't find a buyer? And they're like, well, that's the beauty of it. We can just cancel out of this. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound cool. Like, what if you just go find the buyer first? And then I'm like, all right, I'm a genius. I'm going to go do this thing totally different. And then I learned about Astro and I was like, oh, well, there's a whole company that does it this way.
That was like Jamil when he thought he invented wholesaling.
Yeah. Skipjacking or whatever they call it in Canada.
Yeah, some weird term.
So, okay. So, you're with your mom, you're watching HGTV. What was life like in your career that made you because you're busy, you're a mom, you're an RN. What made you think, hey, let me add some more onto my plate?
Yeah. My daughter, honestly, having her, it was like, there's got to be something more, because I was working full time and we couldn't swing like a schedule where like I work days, my husband worked nights, like it just didn't work. So we had no choice but to put her in childcare. And, the whole time she was there, she was in great hands. She was with a family friend. And so I was never like worried about anything like that, but it was just like, I don't want somebody else raising my child. Like, it didn't sit right with me. So then I started, since my mom was an agent, I was thinking about different things. And I want to say I probably found bigger pockets at first, like, just researching different real estate aspects. And I went down, that bigger pockets rabbit hole. And then all the information just started flooding in. And it was like too much, of course. But right. This was in like early 2020. And my daughter she was born in 2017. So she was like just about 3. And I was like, I need to like find something. So I went down that rabbit, and I was like determined that by the end of 2020, I was going to buy my very first rental. Well, I did buy my very first rental, but I also got pregnant in 2020. So It was, so I got pregnant again with now my second daughter. And, but I was still determined. So my daughter's due date was January, I think 19th or 20th. And I bought my rental in December. So here I am, 9 months pregnant, like just about 9 months pregnant, renovating a house, like pretty much just me. I had help of my family and stuff too. But then it was like I took all the money that I had to buy that first rental. So after that, I had my daughter, everything was all good. I was on maternity leave, but then I was like, well, shit, I have no more money. How am I going to buy more rentals? So then it was like, okay, well, how can I do this without money? So then I actually found creative finance, and I came across, of course, there's a bunch of people, but who sticks out the most? Pace Morby.
Pace.
Yep. So then I was like, okay, this is really cool. I would love to like learn all of this, but again, so much information in just that one niche, so much information. And then of course, following Pace is then how I came across Jamil. And again, I knew what wholesaling was, but I didn't know what wholesaling was.
Sure.
And, then I had started, actually, I just skipped a part. When I was watching Pace and doing all of that, I think he had like a mini wholesale course. That's how it originally got introduced to me. And so I joined that. I forget what it was called. And it was all that direct to seller approach. Right. So it was like November of 21. I started this basically I went in, I hired a VA, I pulled lists, I skipped trace, I did the whole 9. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. We're going to make so much money. And so I did that for about, I think it was 4 or 5 months, and I got one deal, one baby deal. And when I sold it, I made $1,000, but I had spent like a mass amount of money to get that $1,000.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So at that point I was like, I can't keep this up. And on top of that, I then had, I went back to work full time after having my daughter, and then I lost childcare completely. So then it was, an oh shit moment. Like,
right.
I'm at this point of my life where now I have 2 kids. I don't want to go, I don't want to put them in daycare. Like, that was my one big thing. Like, daycare, A, it didn't make sense just for again, someone raising my kids, but B, the financial part of daycare is just absolutely ridiculous. It would have been more than my mortgage payment to have both my kids in daycare full time. So, again, that oh shit moment happened, and my husband and I talked, and we decided, okay, you're gonna cut back your hours. So I went from full time to it basically part time, but it was a little more than part time because I would pick up as much as I could.
Right.
And then that's when I then found Jamil. And I was like, there's just something about this dude. Like, he sits right with me. Right. So digging, doing research, the whole 9. And then I finally made the call to Astro, and I was hooked. And I said, all right, let's do it. Let's try it. I put all my money, into it, even though I knew I was like, it's going to be tight. And it was funny because at that time, I was afraid that everybody was going to judge me. They were going to be like, Tabitha, you just cut back your hours. Why are you spending this money? So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody how much I spent. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I just did it. And then, of course, once I started making money, then I spilled the beans. But
That's right.
I didn't want to be judged.
You didn't want to be judged by family or by work coworkers?
By family. Yeah, by family. I was, because I just cut back my hours and we were like, well, how are we going to juggle this financially? And, I used the credit card, of course, but it was just one of those that it was like, I didn't want them to be like, Tabitha, don't be stupid. Don't go buy a guru's course. And I didn't want any of that negativity.
Sure.
I just wanted to do it and focus on it and, obviously prove them all wrong. But not even saying they would have said that. That was my own thought process. So
Absolutely.
They may have never even said that, but it was just like, I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want any pushback and I didn't want anybody to change my mind.
I love it. Yeah. I think that, a lot of people make the mistake of announcing these sorts of things to their family, hoping that they would get the support. And, when they do get any kind of criticisms or negative feedback, that sticks in your brain, and there's a saying, in sales, 1% doubt, you're out. And I think, successful wholesalers, they don't listen to the noise, and you were smart in that you knew that you're susceptible to the noise. So instead of even, putting yourself in a position, you're like, I'm just not going to tell them, while some people may think that's sneaky, you were doing that to protect the interest of your family because you knew that, hey, I want to win at this. So the only way for me to do this is if I don't tell people, I just go do it. So that's commendable.
Yeah, that was exactly it. I just didn't want any of that. I didn't want anybody to get in my head. I didn't want any type of negativity. I just went full force.
So you're getting started in Astro. You had a little bit of success. You've got one rental. You got a buy hold out there. You're at one door. You've made $1,000 so far in your real estate career outside of your cash flow. What was the Astro intro like? Like, did you join Astro just based on the fact that you got a good vibe from Jamil and you saw that there was no marketing, or like, what was that all about?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the vibe from Jamil that his heart just resonated with mine, and I just felt like he was always honest. Like, there's so many people out there that are getting a name for themselves, and you just never really know what noise is true, what it's not. Something just felt honest. And then, because I had spent all that money in marketing my first go around, I was like, no marketing money? Sold. Sign me up. Yeah. So I mean, those were really the two things that hooked me into it.
Once you got started, about how long until you knocked out your first deal?
Yeah, so I joined Astro April of 2022, and I did my first deal in June. So what is that? April, May?
Oh, wow, 2 months.
2 months. Yeah.
Okay. So because I came onto the scene in May, I think it was, and at that time, let's see, because I remember just seeing you on the calls all the time and hearing your successes, and it's like, wow, like, and she's a nurse. I remember, whenever it's kind of a fun story, like in the Astro world, but Tabitha will join and she'll be like in a closet or something. She'll be on the calls, but she'll, be running down the hospital corridor or something. But she always shows up. And so, but you've had incredible success. So talk to us about your first deal. How did that go?
Yeah, so I actually, I just felt like agent outreach or doing MLS deals resonated with me. So that's where I started. And the first one happened, I had put an offer in on a property with this specific agent, and I got outbid. And this was, mind you, like pretty much height of the market when I got started. So I got outbid, who knows by how much, I don't even remember, but I built really good rapport with her and the listing agent. And she said, I have this off market coming. So when I get more information, I'll call you back. So of course I'm like, I heard off market and I was like, ding, 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 ding. So I like followed up with her relentlessly until finally she sent me the information. And now, mind you, I live here in Pennsylvania, but my market is in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I had no buyers, nothing. I was just going full force into acquisitions, and I was like, I'm going to make this work. On the flip side of that, I knew there was Keighley in Vegas. So I knew that my dispo arm would be covered. I didn't have to worry about it. So what was really great, and what is really great about Keighley, is you can call them and give them the addresses, and they give you buy numbers. So basically, I went to them. I said, hey, I have this off market. What do you guys think? And they were like, lock it up. I told her, I was like, all right, we're good to go. I signed the contract. And the funny part about this was that the listing agent for the one I put the offer in on originally, it wasn't hers. It was somebody on her team that brought the off-market property. So this agent, the actual listing agent of this property, she didn't want any assignabilities, very particular about all of the terms. And, the inner little me is freaking out because I'm like doing everything I can to get this deal done. And I'm like going back and forth with Keegley. I'm like, they won't let us assign it. What are we going to do? They're like, don't worry, we'll just double close. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but let's just do it. Sounds good. Yeah. And then they wanted, I think it was $5,000 earnest money in 2 days. And I was like, okay, not sure how I'm going to do this. So again, one of those things that I did not tell my family about or my husband is I went to our savings account and I took out that $5,000 and submitted that earnest money. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, but again, full force, went all in, and there you have it. And we ended up, after some back and forth, we ended up double closing on it. And oh my God, what was that first assignment? I want to say it was like a $25,000 assignment fee. The first
one.
One.
Yeah. Keegley came in clutch with you telling her to lock that up, didn't they? Like, yeah.
Yeah, they did for sure. So I locked it up and we sold it. So of course that proof of concept, it was over. I was like,
so how do you, for maybe anyone else that is a bit newer, how did you fund, maybe I missed it, I apologize if I did, how did you fund the EMD within the 48 hours? Or did you negotiate a longer EMD period or what?
No, I didn't negotiate anything. I went and pulled the $5,000 from my savings account. And
oh, that's right. You just said that. You didn't tell your husband.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
He was like,
does he know now, or is this still like, I'm
I don't know. I don't think I ever told him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he don't care now because he's like, oh, Tabitha's making money.
Yeah. So. Tabitha's the breadwinner now. Let's go.
Yeah. So I don't know if I actually ever told him that I did it. I don't know. Yeah. I'd have to ask.
He's like looking at the account, like, what the hell? Where'd the 5,000 go?
Why
is that getting deposited to a title company in Las Vegas? What is?
Yeah. And it was funny because my bank, it's a small little community credit union. So I had to like go in person. You couldn't do it online. And they were like, oh, what do you're buying a house in Las Vegas? I was like, oh yeah, is it a vacation house? Are you moving there? And I said, no, I'm an investor and I'm just looking to buy it and sell it really quickly. She was like, oh, okay. I had no idea what I was talking about.
So sorry, I was having some camera difficulties and I may have missed, but what did you net on that first deal?
I believe the first one was 25.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a great first deal.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. Me and Keegley split that, but still,
sure.
So how long did it take you from the moment you got it under contract? How long did it take you and Keegley to dispo that? For those that don't know what dispo means, if you're new, it's assigning to a buyer, by the way. Go ahead. Sorry.
They assigned it the same exact day.
Oh, wow. So they were ready. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were ready.
They assigned it literally. I couldn't believe it. Like, my heart was pounding out of my chest. I signed this contract. They assigned it the same day. It was that's
incredible. The last thing as a new wholesaler you want to hear, like in your case, was when that listing agent or whatever was like, yeah, non-assignable. I would have been panicking at that moment if I was brand new. But again, it's important to use the Keegley because now correct me if I'm wrong, but if Keegley wasn't there, would you have still locked that up if they said it wasn't assignable or?
No, I wouldn't have known what to do. I wouldn't have had, again, brand new to a market, had no buyers, had no information. I've heard I heard the term double close before, but I had no idea what it meant, what it entailed. I would have never locked it up if I didn't have them. So kudos 100%.
For sure.
Round of applause to Keegley for making you. There you go.
So 25K in your first deal. What's been your biggest month so far, financial wise? You don't have to tell us the month, but what's been your biggest month number wise?
The biggest month, I think total was 30. I think it was 32,000 for the month in 1 month.
32,000 is not a bad month.
Hell no, I'll take that all day.
$32,000 a month.
Yeah.
What?
That's doctor pay right there. That's a little under $400,000 a year. That's incredible.
Oh my God, I know. Compared to what I would make as a nurse, are you kidding? Oh my God, I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely.
Well, let's dive into a little bit of mindset stuff. We'll kind of get started. I want to ask you, what is a unique skill set that you have, and how does that help you in your business?
I don't know if you would call it unique, but I am just like a no excuses type of person. I don't let anything, when I have my mind set to something, nobody will stop me. And that's just my drive. That's like just the way my brain works, is that when I want it, I will go after it, and I will do any and everything that I can to make it work.
If you were to ask your family and friends, if I were to ask them that same question, do you think they'd say the same thing? Like, is that very obvious about you to people that know you?
I think so. Yeah, I do.
Where do you think that came from?
Oh, that's a really good question. I've never thought about that. I probably have to give it to my mom, because with us growing up, so she just did so much. Like, I don't know how she did it, but I mean, I guess I kind of do, but in a different way. Like, she was working a full-time job, raising us kids. She was a cheerleading coach, because she coached my cheerleading team. And then she also had my brother, who was in every other sport of baseball, basketball, football, the whole nine. And I don't know if I said it, but she was going to school full-time, or part-time or full-time as well. Like, she just, still to this day, I'm like, I don't know how you would do it. And I think watching her, like, juggle all of those things to better herself, that's probably where it came from. I would have to give it to her.
I see. What do you think so far in your career? You've been at it pretty hard for about a year now. What's been, and I hate to go negative, but people learn the most from these situations than the fun ones. But what's been your most interesting failure so far in real estate?
Interesting failure. That's a good question. I don't know if I would call it a failure, but yet a slowdown, because I'm at the point now where I'm starting to grow a team. And there's been a few months where I haven't gotten a paycheck, because I've been so focused on taking this business to the next level. But I guess what I would say is, if you are in doing that, is to don't step off the gas yourself, because that's what I did, because I so focused on now training and focusing in on my team that I pulled off the gas probably too much, and I stopped doing offers. I was still doing like some agent outreach, but like I wasn't doing as much as I probably should have, so that I kept the checks coming in. So that would be my advice, is if you're ready to go to that next step, don't pull off the gas. Keep doing what's making you money, but figure out how to train and do your other things as well. Combine it.
There's a lot of things that come up, in our careers, a lot of challenging moments and times and scenarios, like you're in. So whenever there's been something that has kind of disappointed you, a seller, bad seller interaction, bad buyer interaction, how do you deal with disappointment in business?
I don't really stress too much. Like, once it's there and it happens, I basically make a decision on whatever it is that I'm going to deal with it, and then I move on. I don't sulk over it. I don't ask for 10 million different opinions. I just make that decision on whatever it is, and whether it's like I lost a deal, or I, lost earnest money, or whatever the case could be. It's just like, okay, it is what it is. I've made this decision, and I'm moving forward.
I see. Is there, I like to ask this question, because I feel like I get really interesting answers sometimes, but is there a criticism or an insult that you heard about yourself that you actually see as one of your greatest strengths?
Ooh. Insult or a criticism?
Has someone said, man, you're a fiery redhead?
Well, yes, that is one of my greatest strengths. maybe like I'm too straightforward. I think maybe that might be probably one. Like I don't hold back for the most part. I'm always like, especially in professional interactions, I'm always professional. But like if there's something that needs to be said, I'll say it. If there's a situation that needs to be handled that may make some other people uncomfortable, I'll handle it. So probably sometimes might come off a little too strong. That I would say to some people, but to me, I think it's a strength, and that's what pushes me forward.
Would you say that it's an honest assessment to say that you don't care what people think about you, or do you care, you just don't let it affect you?
Yes, this is second. Yes, I care. Somewhere in the back of my brain, I do care what other people think, but I just, again, when I have a goal or a mission or something that I want to achieve, I'm just not going to let it affect me. I don't want that little, like I call it the little asshole in the back of my head that's like my negative vibe or what other people think. I just don't let it. I always shift it to positive.
I see. What's one of the last things you did that was out of your comfort zone?
Out of my comfort zone. Well, I mean, I guess like starting an actual business is completely out of my comfort zone because it was just me. And then it's like, now I have a partner, which I didn't have before. So it's like, there's now 2 people involved in this.
Right.
And now we have a team. So it's all growing pains at this point. It's, my partner and I vibe so well together. He's amazing. But yeah, like the growing pains.
Shout out partner.
Yeah, his name is Ron Woods. Shout out. He's
shout out Ron. How many do you have on your team?
So there's been growing pains with that, and we have lost some and gained some. Right now, I'm at 3 acquisitionists.
And are those VAs or are those, in the
no,
States?
They're in the States. Yep, they're all over one's actually in Vegas. Excuse me. The other one's in Pennsylvania and the other one is in LA. So they're all over the place.
And how do you guys collaborate? I mean, working with the team, because I know we're going through growing pains in the sense as well as we have a team. And so it's, balancing between managing and keeping the foot on the gas. So it's, you're always getting dragged back and forth. How do you deal with training and making sure the business is still going forward? Yeah.
So we're very focused on our KPIs. And after the initial training, of going through everything, they all had some background in real estate. One of them is also an Astro student. And then the other 2 have dabbled in real estate in different ways. So they weren't like fresh, complete newbies. So there was like an initial 2 weeks of just like hardcore training. And then what we've decided to do is we meet Monday through Friday. It was for 2 hours from it's 1 to 3 my time, Eastern time, and 2 hours every day. Now we're down to an hour, and we just come in, we collaborate, we talk about the deals we have going on. If they have questions, they ask. And we just, we make it fun. Like we bullshit, we talk about like silly things, and just to try to keep that culture going and, make it fun. Like I don't want anybody to feel like they're working for me. I want them to feel like they're working for a company and they see my vision and they want to grow with this really cool company. So that's kind of how I do it for meeting wise. And then of course, like communication, we use Slack for communication, and all throughout the day, if they have questions or need help with a comp or whatever, they'll reach out.
So what's your company's vision?
I was just going to ask that.
So company vision. So the 5-year vision or 3-year vision, it actually is we want to, grow into a multi-million-dollar, basically wholesale company. And we want to be in at least 5 markets within the next 3 years. So solely focused on Vegas for this year. We've got big goals. And once we pass this year, we're definitely going to be adding markets into the mix.
Interesting.
What are you a big reader?
No, actually I'm not. That's probably I will listen to anything. Like I can listen to podcasts. But again, it's like a time constraint thing for me. Sure. So I'm not a big reader. So I don't have any
audiobooks.
I haven't listened to anything recently, but the one book I did just recently read, which was great for building a business, is called Traction. So I can give that recommendation.
Hey.
Yeah, it was really good. And that's kind of how we laid out our blueprint, exactly in how the book tells you to, with like your vision, your 10-year, your 3-year, 1 year. It breaks it down, team building, all of those different things. That has been definitely how I'm focusing my business on growing it, is based off of that book.
Are you the visionary and your partner's the integrator?
No, actually, I think it's opposite. I think he's more the visionary, and I'm the integrator.
Ah,
yeah,
that's interesting.
When I was reading the book, I was like, he's definitely the visionary. But I think I'm kind of both, to be honest. Like I have a mix of both.
That's where I am. I've got rocket fuel right here.
It's funny because I was like, I need to get that book and dig more into this visionary and integration.
Right? Yeah, Tanner's way stronger on the visionary side, and I'm a little bit stronger on the integration. So that's good. What's one of the greatest lessons that you've learned so far in the world of real estate?
Don't get attached to any one deal, because shit happens. It happens all the time. I've had cases where, I've had a property locked up, and people go behind your back and they call that real estate agent and tell them that they're wholesaling, that we're wholesaling it. I've had situations where I ended up getting my earnest money back, but I almost lost my earnest money. Deals fall through for so many reasons. Don't get attached to it. Don't get attached to the result. Just keep pushing forward. Again, big goal, big visions in mind. Go for that. Don't let one thing stop you.
Did you always have that attitude, or did the first couple things knock you down and then you realized over time, okay, I just got to keep pushing forward? Or were you always that way?
I think I've built up to it, but I kind of always I don't dread on things for too long. I don't let it bother me for too long. But definitely in the beginning, when you lost a couple deals, like I've canceled contracts, it happens all the time. It's like, oh shit, that really sucks. Like I don't like doing that. It doesn't feel good to do that. Sure. But at the end of the day, I've had to learn, it's part of the business, and it happens not just for wholesalers. It happens for typical real estate investors who flip or buy rentals all the time. It happens in regular homeownership. It's part of just real estate in general, this canceled contracts. So I've just learned, just don't get attached to it, and on to the next.
I had this massive fear when I was getting started that I had a goal actually to build a business and never cancel a contract. Like that was my goal. I had this whole buyer first approach, right? And I felt in my core that eventually I was going to have to cancel a contract. I just knew it, but I was so scared of doing that because I just felt like I was going to let someone down, in that process. And here we are a year later. We've canceled many contracts, but we've also done many deals, and I think that's just a part of the business. You're definitely going to be disappointed, but it's how you do, how you handle it. You keep moving forward for real.
And let me ask you this real quick. Do you find yourself, in terms of getting attached to a deal, maybe early on, did you find yourself getting attached to the money and the outcome, or ruining a potential relationship with an agent? What was the hardest to overcome?
Probably the agent and the seller. Like I didn't want to disappoint anybody. Just like Isham just said, is you don't want to be that person that goes in and cancels contracts. And it wasn't so much the money for me, because there's been plenty of times where I was literally willing to give a deal away and make nothing. So it's not about the money for me. It is honestly about, there's obviously sellers out there that need to sell their house for whatever reason. And, the time being quicker with an investor, and the condition of the property, all of those things, they need people like us. Right. So you don't want to get into that contract and then say, hey, I'm really sorry, I can't perform. So more for them, I think, than anybody else. And it's funny because I don't even know them, going through doing our way with agents. I don't know those sellers. I'm not direct to seller, but it's just that thought is like, something's going on. They need to sell this house, and now I have to cancel a contract. But the one thing that I will say that I do is the minute I know it's not going to work, I cancel. Like, I don't wait until the very last day of my inspection period. Like, I'm at the point now where I get feedback fairly quickly on a deal. So if I'm not getting anything or the numbers are just so far off, I'm not going to take up the whole 10-day inspection.
Sure.
I'll just tell them right away, like, hey, we walked this, or, I was getting feedback from my funding partners. They're not going to lend on this, and I'll cancel it as soon as possible.
Makes sense. What freedoms has real estate afforded you so far? I know, you had 25K your first month. You're doing an average of, probably 20 to 30,000 a month. So you're doing really well now. What are some of the freedoms that you're getting out of this?
It's fine. Honestly, time freedom. I have cut back my hours to the absolute minimum at work. So I only work, my contract is I have to work 24 hours in a month. So that is all I'm doing. And
Nice.
it's funny is because it's a mindset thing. It's like, obviously I don't need this job anymore, but it's like a safety thing. I don't know. It's just, I have not switched my brain to say I can let go of that yet.
Sure.
But I've let go as much as I possibly can, which is now literally the absolute minimum that I am required to work. So that's 24 hours a month. That's literally, for me as a nurse, 2 12-hour shifts. So 2 days a month I go in, I do my nursing job, but otherwise I'm home. I'm with my kids. I don't have to worry about babysitting or, all of those things. And of course, like, the money is nice too, but I'm frugal. So I haven't like gone out and like blown all the money. I'm very frugal. I pay my bills. We're happy. And that's it.
Do you guys have like a big vacation plan or anything, or a big kind of family goal? Hey, we hit this dollar amount, we're going to go to here. Do you guys do any of that yet?
No, we haven't talked about that yet. Yeah, I don't know. Now you've triggered me. I guess I'm gonna have to do that now. But
that's what we did. We did that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, we did that at the end of the year. The middle of last year, business was starting to ramp up, and, I promised my kids, hey, if you guys just let me work, understand that, I'm doing this for us, then we'll do something fun. And so we ended up planning a big trip at the end of the year where I'm in Alaska. We flew out of Alaska to California, stayed at the Great Wolf Lodge for a week. We did Legoland and all that stuff. And that was all paid for by this real estate business. And yeah, it's just phenomenal. So I love just finding out if anyone else is doing anything weird like that.
Yeah, no, but it's funny because my older daughter, she's 5. So she's been asking, hey, mommy, can we go to Disney World? Can we go to Disney World? So that might be one fun one that I do. It's just, for me, I want both my kids, especially their first time, to remember it. And my little one, she's only 2. So I want to I want to bring them when they're at that age where it's like, they're not too old, but they're not too young, that they can really enjoy it and remember it. Because it's so special.
Sense. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's a new year, we're it's the early stages of 2023. What's something you're kind of maybe cautious, maybe concerned about this year, and what's something that you're excited about this year?
Well, I can tell you, in the beginning of the year with the market turn in December and January were very, very slow. It wasn't, a lot in the Vegas market. And I was nervous. I was like, everyone says you can wholesale in any market, but I was like, nobody's buying. Like, where is all my buyers at? So I was nervous. I was like, do I have to switch? All these thoughts start running through your head. But now we've been following the market very closely, and it's turning around. So it's, obviously not going up, but it's flattening, and the buyers they're happy with that. That's like the best market to be in, where it's not depreciating and it's not appreciating too fast. So they're happy with that. So they're coming back, and they're ready to buy. So we're like ramped up on acquisitions. It's exciting. And it's really exciting for my team too, because, well, my first acquisition is she just did her first deal, closed her first deal. So yeah, it's really exciting. And then the other 2, they're close. We've got some things in the pipeline. So they're they're going to close deals real soon. So it's really exciting. But yeah, so I guess it was kind of a mix of both, is,
Sure.
Worried about the market in the beginning and like now getting more excited because we're starting to see things turn around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, as we kind of come to a close, I wanted to give you an opportunity. If you could go back in a time and talk to yourself, in your first year or your first month, your first week, what would you tell that Tabitha that was just getting started, versus what you know now?
Start sooner. I should have started so long ago. If I knew what I knew now, oh my God, I would have been Andy wrong at 16 doing this. Like, start sooner, because it's so fun. None of this feels like work to me. Like going to my nursing job, that's work. Like, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love helping people, but it's work. It's not easy, and not everybody's nice, and not everybody's nice in real estate either. But
Sure.
It's a passion. It's fun. So I would have definitely started earlier. And yeah, just don't give up. Never, ever give up, because you're going to have highs. You're going to have lows. You're going to make a shit ton of money in 1 month and no money in another month. And it's fine. Just keep going.
That's so good. That's
Very
so
good.
true. Keep going is your word. Tabitha, how do you measure success?
Happiness. In happiness, for sure. Are you happy? Is what you do make you happy? Is your family happy? I think that's the true definition of success, is happiness.
I love it. You've clearly, have such a huge heart. I think we vibe, and we're on the same frequency. We're those people who will do a deal and not make money just for the sake of, doing the right thing, and I would encourage more people, that are in our space to look at your ethics, look at the values that you bring to the table, and don't compromise them, ever, for money, for partners, for anything. Be yourself and be true to that. So I want to give you your flowers for doing that and being that person. We need more people like you in our space.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you don't get repaid by being greedy. You don't get repaid by not doing the right thing. At the end of the day, if you're helping the person that truly matters, which is that seller, then you're doing the right thing.
Awesome. Tanner, you got anything for young Miss Tabitha before we roll?
No, I mean, you're a rock star, and like Isham said, there needs to be a lot more people like you, or you're bubbly, you're smiling constantly, and every time we see you on the Zoom calls, no matter what you're doing, you're in a good, your spirit's always up, and so it's just, you're an infectious energy, and I think there needs to be a lot more of that. So, and also congratulations to all your success. So you're
yes, you both as well. Thank you. I really appreciate it. This is fun.
Thank you so much. Well, you said, and I kind of want to go back to this just to put a pin in it. You said, keep going. That was your word for wholesalers, and your advice. When folks are, you said this is fun, and it's not always fun, but this is fun. If you're a wholesaler and to the wholesalers that are out there struggling right now, maybe they're 6 months in, no deal. Whatever, 9 months in, no deal, or for the people that are 2 months in and freaking out because they don't have a deal. What do you say to those people outside of keep going? Because everyone hears keep going, but that's hard to hear when you feel defeated. What's your conversation like to those people?
Yeah, I would, for me personally, like if I was able to converse with one of them, I would first ask well, what's the process? What are you doing that's different from everybody else? Are you putting in enough reps? Everybody thinks that they're doing enough, and myself included. Sometimes I think I'm doing enough, but we can all do more. So to me, it's like, did you make those phone calls today? Or did you give up because you didn't get anybody to answer? Or did you reach your goals, but did you stop at your goal instead of making 1 or 2 more calls? I think it's always going that extra mile that's going to set you apart. So I would ask about your process, and then I would ask about, your mentorship. Like, this is not a business that you do by yourself. This is you need a coach. You need somebody who's knowledgeable, and not just knowledgeable and like, hey, call me if you need a comp. I mean, like actually mentoring you, because I 1000% would not be where I am without Astro community. And of course, Jamil, but 100% the community, because the whole community is the mentorship. It's not just Jamil. So that would be like my two things, is really break down your processes. Are you doing really what you should be doing? And what type of mentorship do you have? I think that those are the two most important things to ask yourself.
Couldn't agree more. That's so powerful. And I know, it seems like sometimes our podcasts are like a mini infomercial for Astro. But, this community has just been so damn impactful, on all of us. And, if for the people that are on the outside, if they heard people talking about Astro, they'd probably say, is that a cult or something? Just because of how happy we are, in the community, and how much we are all really do, get along and support one another. And the head of the community, Jamil, he's a beast. He's a crazy entrepreneur. He's networked with everyone out there. He's just the guy. And so, just to be able to get his mentorship for the price, the investment that we pay, it seemed like a lot at first, but after being in it, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. Like, we get all this for life. Like, that's incredible. So if there's anyone that does want info, gotastro.com is the URL that you can go to and learn more about it. But Tabitha, we want to send people your way as well. So how can people work with you? We know you're in Vegas, but I see your phone numbers there. But for the listening audience, if you want to read that out, and then also just let people know how they can get in touch with you and how they can send you deals.
Yeah, for sure. So phone number is 610-297-5608. That's the best way. Always text me first, because I'm crazy busy. So if I see a text, and then we'll plan to hop on a call if we need to. And then of course, Instagram is @Tabitha Real Estate. Those are the two best ways you can catch me.
Awesome. And are you open to people sending you deals to help dispo, or what are you willing to do?
Oh, 100%. Send me deals. If anything in Vegas, buyers are hungry. They're back. So send them my way. But even, if you just want to talk, if you need help, I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide, and I'm happy to chat with anybody just about real estate. It's fun. So yeah, reach out.
Incredible. @Tabitha Real Estate, 610-297-5608. Tabitha, thank you so much for being on the Wholesale Elite Show. This has been fun.
Thank you guys. This has been so fun. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And guys, we want you in Tabitha's spot for the next one. So go out there and crush it and make it happen. And we'll see you on the next episode. Peace. What up, Elite fan? That's a wrap for today's episode. But look, if you got value out of the show today, do us a huge favor and give us a review, or give us a like, or subscribe. Do all the things to help us get the word out there. And look, we want to see you on the next show. So get out there and crush it, make it happen. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace.